Welcome to the Connie G Show, where a waterhead says a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. That's just a jingle I've been working on. My name is Conrad. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of driving a vehicle that's falling apart. That's right, Gold Thunder headed back north. Headed north in 2000 F-150, and you know, for whatever reason, I'm pretty #blessed to have a mother. Some people have a mom but don't like them. Some people have a mom and they are crazy or something. And you know, I got a mother that when Gold Thunder is parked at her house throughout the week, behind the barn, she'll find random things inside of her home and then walk out to Gold Thunder and put those things inside of it. You know, and she's being thoughtful. You know, she looks at, for example, she's like, Conrad drives Gold Thunder. Conrad is my son. Conrad has 2 children that are certain ages. I just found this suit jacket that might fit one of those children. I'm going to go put it in his truck. And sure, that's thoughtful. Another thought might be, my son is 10 years old and never worn a suit. And she might be saying, well, that's because he didn't have a jacket. And I would be saying, yeah, that's not the reason. You know, he just doesn't wear a suit. He's not doing business, you know. He's not doing business yet. He's close, but he's not there yet. But I don't say anything because, you know, that's just something that crazy women do. They like to tell you things that they don't want anymore, but they don't want to throw them away. They don't want to throw those things away. They want to find a use for them or put the guilt of discarding such things on the next generation. And so you'll walk out to your truck and you'll open the door and you'll be like, oh, what is this? Oh, babe, I didn't know if you'd be hungry. That's a bowl of macaroni. It's just what I had left over from James made macaroni last Sunday. So I went ahead and I had it in the refrigerator and I knew you were coming, so I went ahead and put it in your truck in case you wanted some. It's like, I don't really want to eat week old macaroni. Okay, thank you though. And the latest ordeal, which I've never brought any of this up because there's no sense. You can't tell somebody who does this stuff to stop doing it. They won't listen to you. So you don't even say anything, but she texted me, hey, I put a bag of clothes inside of your truck. And I thought, that's great, Mom, thank you for doing that again. Putting a bunch of stuff I don't really want in the cab of my truck. And so it's a problem because there's so much stuff in Gold Thunder. There's a backpack sprayer. There's 2 or 3 containers that I put water in. There's computers and clothes bags that I'm bringing when I come up here because I have to change of clothes. There's a big old box of trash bags. There's a winter coat. There's a floor jack. There's a hedge trimmer. There's hand trimmers. There's batteries and chargers and all that stuff for the backpack sprayer and for power tools. And so it's just like claustrophobia city in here, dude, which I think Aerosmith is opening their tour there in claustrophobia. But yeah, so you get in here, there's no room for anything. Passengers, no way. There's tools in here. There's all kinds of junk. Just junk. in here that I need, though. Random bolts. There's a bag of random bolts and stuff in case something breaks, and I got to figure out a way to fix it. And so every week I come back, or it seems like most weeks, I'll come and I'll open my truck, and there'll be a big old bag of clothes in there that now I have to ride around with, in addition to everything else. And it's just a garbage bag. It's not a nice bag or anything. And so this last one really got to me. So I opened the back door and I grabbed the bag. And when I grabbed the bag, the hedge trimmer ripped the bottom of the bag open. And what my mom had decided that she didn't want anymore, but I could use, was a trash bag full of unmatched socks. Unpaired socks. So everybody knows this. Everybody knows that there's a sock monster that lives within a dryer. And, you know, over the years, you will eventually start losing one sock. And so you get a basket in your laundry room where you start discarding these unpaired socks into. And eventually you fill up that basket of unmatched socks. And most people would then give them away, or take them to Goodwill, or throw them away. My mom is not most people, so what she did was put those socks in a bag and then put that bag in my truck, and then when I pulled that bag out of my truck, it caught the hedge trimmer, ripped the bottom open, and I had hundreds of socks just fall out of this bag all over. And I thought, gosh damn it. You know what I mean? I said, gosh damn it, real hard. And I picked all the socks up, and I have nowhere to put them now. So I put them in my truck. And then for the next 3 days, every time I opened my door, the back door to Gold Thunder, it's got like the third door option. It's a super cab. Nothing super about it. And I'd open the back door, and all these socks would fall out. And I'd have to pick them up again. And this happened over and over. And eventually, when I got ready to head up, I said, okay, this is not happening again. I've already picked this crap up. You know, it's just junk. It's just junk. So I opened the third door. I gathered up all of the socks, which you guys understand because you do it too when you do laundry. And inevitably, when you're walking with an arm full of socks, you'll drop a few socks. You know, this is what's happening. So the back door stays open because you can't ever pick up all of them. And I walk into the house and I throw them on the floor, and I tell the story to my wife. I say, can you believe what my mother is doing? She's just every week just putting trash in my truck. You know, she's just putting trash in my truck is what she's doing. It's incredibly insulting. And it's like, do you not have... And I can understand when she's like, you know, maybe Conrad could use this. He's really poor, and he doesn't care what his kids look like, and, you know, maybe he'll find a new use for this. He'll make a blanket and use them as a stuffing. I don't know. He's very resourceful. Maybe she's got a sweet thing about it, but there's also a part where it's like, hey, Mom, bag it up. Keep it at the house. When we come over every week, you could be like, hey, do you want this? And so before you just throw it in my truck, because what am I supposed to do with all these clothes? I live in a shoebox. You know, my flat is 800 square foot. My mom lives basically alone in a 3,000 square foot mansion. You know? She has plenty of places to put this. In fact, where it was in the house is a very good place to keep stuff like this. Okay? Until you find out if anybody in the family wants it. And people will say no. And then just take it out and throw it away. That's the answer. Or take it to Goodwill. And instead, it's in my... It's not... She doesn't think like that. She thinks, I'll just put it in his truck so then he'll see it. I don't drive my truck home every week. You know? It stays there. So unless I remember to be like, oh, I better turn around and look and see, what happens is bags and bags just start filling up Gold Thunder of discarded clothes from my youth or my siblings' youth, and it just becomes another obstacle of junk. It's basically like my truck became a closet. A closeted truck for homosexuals to hide out, okay, until they can figure it out. Clothing for homos is what my truck is. Mismatched socks. So, anyways, I left the back door open to Gold Thunder, the third door of the super cab. I walk in, I tell my wife, I throw them on the floor. She and the kids go through the other clothes and find out that they're covered in mouse droppings and all that and get grossed out, throw it all away, maybe keep a few things, I don't know. So, hat tip to my wife for going through it, but at the same time, she was like, this is ridiculous, which it is. But even more ridiculous is I go back outside, I close the third door, I close the other door, and then go inside, get my stuff, come back out, try to open the third door. The stupid cable that locks the door, you know, when you close a door and it latches on these trucks, the latch is connected by a cable. That cable broke on one of my handles, and so now I can't get the damn door open. And so I got frustrated, and I, you know, kind of like pushed my shoulder into the door, completely caved in the side of the door. It's really thin steel back there, guys. It's really thin steel. If you have a 2000 F-150, which I suggest buying one, and then leaning into that third door, make sure you get a super cab and just put your shoulder into that third door, give it a little a little push, and you will cave that sucker in. And so I caved in my third door with my shoulder. So I was frustrated about that. Can't open it. I use it constantly because I have so much junk, you know. So every time I open my door, my driver door, I'm trying to open that door every freaking time. And every time I'm like, oh yeah, it's broken. I got to go around and like crawl through stuff. And it's not the worst thing to happen to people. Clearly there's worse things. Cancer is bad. You know, anything health related, I would say, is bad. Anything probably war related, you could be involved in a war, and that would be worse. But other than those two things, it's about as bad as it gets, bucko. So I've been kind of letting that percolate in my head for a while, and watched a couple YouTube videos on how to get that damn door open, but there's no YouTube video on fixing a crazy mom, and I got one, and I got another. She's pretty young, too, and she comes from a crazy stock, too. Like, the Irish, I don't know if it's the Irish or the Herman. Her mom's maiden name's a Herman. Her grandpa was named Harry Herman. So, imagine that. That's old frickin' Harry Herman right there, dude. And, so I got a long time, because Hermans and Shays, she's an O'Shea, they do not die. You know what I mean? So she's going to be crazy for a long time and getting crazier. And so I just got a long... Even living a state away, I'm going to be affected by this craziness moving forward for a while. So it's going to be a wild another 30, 40 years for me, which is a blessing. I get it, and I'll look at it as such, but it's always interesting what you're going to find when you go over there, you know. So that's been bothering me. Shannon and I have been working on the restaurant in Davenport. We bought a restaurant. So we pretty much got the electrical figured out. So we were quoted $7,000 to do what we did in a couple days. Got her all figured out. You have one outlet. We're down to one outlet that doesn't work, and a few switches that we're unfamiliar with, but that's pretty good, really, if you think about it. So we got some switches we're putting in. We took off that big ass hood motor on the roof, the big old, on restaurants, they got those big hoods that suck up all the grease and stuff. And so we took that off, kind of took it apart and looked at it. Pretty cool to learn how that all, pretty simple machine, really. People get a lot of money to work on those. We're just going to rebuild part of it. The motor's fine, which is good, so that's good. So we're moving along. We got some stuff. I've been talking with Chris about, he's actually texted me right now about the paint. We're going to paint the roof. I think a lot of people are against that. They don't understand why I'd want to paint the roof. Pretty simple, really. I don't like the color, and it doesn't go with what we're doing. And it's a tremendous roof. It's visible, and you see it from miles away. You see it when you Google our restaurant. So I think, it's kind of a big deal to me. A lot of restaurants and a lot of buildings are based on the roof. The Red Roof Inn is a terrific hotel. The Sun Dome is a hotel. It's known for the roof. Sistine Chapel, whatever. Sistine? It's not 16th. I know that. It's like 16th Chapel. Pretty crazy ceiling going on in that thing. Pizza Hut had the red roof, made them famous. So details like that matter. And I know I'm one that maybe sweats the details too much. I'm sure it would be just as successful, maybe not worth the afternoon that it's going to take to paint this roof, but for a few $100 and an afternoon, if it makes me feel better about it, I don't see why we're not doing it, So we're going to do that, and we just got some painting and got to build some tables and do some painting and some fun stuff, dude, and then we're on to trying to then it's on to the bureaucracy side of it, where you're trying to get the license transferred over and inspected and all that kind of crap. So anyways, just moving along, one day at a time. We're trying to figure it out, but I'm on my way back. It's Wednesday. I'm on my way back to Kansas to weed eat for the next 4 or 5 days. Got a big old weed eating project that I got to do, and it's going to be nasty. I hate it, but it's a beautiful weather still. It's still 100 degrees here in Kansas. Global warming is in full effect, and so I get to deal with that. I wrote down some stuff, but I'm driving right now, if you can't tell. I'm not just purposefully pumping in driving noises into my studio to make it seem like I'm driving. I'm actually driving down the corridor, so I can't access my notes. I know that one of them was a football note, and I am a pretty big football fan. I'm in one fantasy league through those guys from Wichita. We have a fantasy league. It had an auto draft on it, so I don't have to update anything on it, which is pretty cool. And so I haven't checked it or anything yet to see how I've been doing this year, but I know I'm 1-0. I know I've won at least the first game, so I'm assuming that I've done pretty well. So, but I was watching a game the other day, and the quarterback, and I forget what brand of football it was, if it was professional or collegiately based. And I don't even know if there's a difference anymore now that they're paying college players. So I gotta get my ticket here for my toll road. Hold on a second. Freaking highway patrolman that was monitoring the exit to the toll, which is nice, doing his job, probably watching dirty movies. So anyways, I was watching football, and Hold on. By the way, I should get some credit for this. I don't have an air conditioner in this studio, so it's very hot in here when the windows are up. And I don't know how much it helps with the sound, to be honest. It's a very loud vehicle. So, during this football contest, the quarterback got the ball, and he got a penalty for breaking the rules. And the rule that he broke was called intentional grounding. And for those of you, probably ladies in the audience, that don't know what that means, let me explain it to you, and I'll try to do it in a way that a woman can understand. The quarterback is the guy that takes the ball from the center. He's the one that goes up and says, hut, hut, hike. Okay? Once he gets the ball in his hands, if it is a pass play, in order for him to throw the ball away and not get a penalty, he must either, one, escape the pocket, meaning he has to run to the side of the line of scrimmage in either direction and get out of the pocket. And the pocket is the width of the tackles. And the tackles are the guys on the line of scrimmage that are blocking for him. It's the guy on the outside. So in order to escape the pocket, he has to get outside the tackles. Okay? And then he has to throw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage and either out of bounds or in the vicinity of a receiver. So if he escapes the pocket and he throws the ball to the ground, but it's near somebody that could have caught it, then that's not intentional grounding. But if he throws the ball just into the ground with nobody around, that's intentional grounding. Or if he stays in the pocket and he throws the ball and it hits the ground, that's intentional grounding. And it doesn't go out of bounds. It doesn't cross the line of scrimmage. So the thing I don't understand, when you watch football and you know the rule, a lot of times a quarterback will throw the ball away and everybody that's watching the game will be like, oh, that's intentional grounding. Like, we love saying that as football fans. That's intentional grounding. And that's like a 10-yard penalty and loss of down. Meaning, sometimes on penalties, if you get a personal foul, it's a 15-yard penalty, but it's still third down. But if you intentional ground on third down, it's 10 yards, now it's fourth down. You lost that down. You don't get to redo it. So it's a big penalty. And I'm familiar with it, and I'm the same. I'm like, I'll notice it if it happens, and then Chris Collinsworth or Al Michaels or whoever's announcing the game will say it, and then the referees will get together, and they'll nod their heads, and then they'll say it, and they'll do the move. It's intentional grounding, 10 yards, loss of down. It's now fourth down. What I don't understand is there is also a play in football where a quarterback does intentionally ground the ball, where he takes the ball and immediately spikes it into the ground to stop the clock. So he does intentionally ground it. But for whatever reason, that's not a penalty. So can somebody explain to me why one intentional grounding is okay and the other one is not? I've been thinking about that a lot, which is probably a weird thing to think about with all that we have going on, but it's kind of bothered me. So think about that and let me know why. Maybe Coach Casey can, or Steve watches a lot of NFL football. Maybe he can. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe if you take maybe if it's an immediate spike, that's okay. But if you're actually trying to run a play and then you just ground it, it's not. I don't know. I don't know. So, anyways, another thing that I got to bring up before I get out of here, and this is going to be a two-part show today. meaning part 1 is right now and part 2 is later in the evening, after I get done weed eating. So, last time I was up here in Kansas, staying at my dad's, I ran by the liquor store for him, okay? He's like, hey, can you stop in the liquor store? And I said, absolutely. That sounds terrific. And I went in there and I got the stuff, which is liquor. And I was standing by the cash register. And there was another customer that couldn't decide what they actually wanted, one of those people. And so I just was patiently waiting and kind of perusing all the impulse buys that a liquor store will put, like the shooters and the Jello shots and all the novelty stuff that they will put on the counter for people to be like, oh, that's funny, I'll get that, you know. Ooh, pickle flavored vodka, let me get that for my friend. Ooh, peanut butter shooter, I'll get that, you know, that kind of junk. And right there in front of, you know, me and the Lord and everyone else involved in that room, there was a bucket of semen. Well, a bucket of semen sperms, little sperm things that were filled with some sort of liquid. So probably like a bachelorette novelty gift where you would, you know, buy 4 or 5 of these Siemens, little squiggly tadpole looking things, obviously Siemens, and you would buy them and hand them out to your, you know, all the women in your bachelorette party. So like Kendra, she's a teacher and she's gonna be like, she's not my maid of honor, I almost made her one, but like we just haven't been that close, but I wanted her to be part of my wedding party. So there's Kendra, and she's like a 4th grade math teacher, she's gonna love this. And there's Maria is a nurse, and I've known her since I was in like 3rd grade. And then there's you know, that kind of thing. So they get 4 or 5 of these shooters. Come on, guy. What are you doing, dude? I hate horse trailers, dude. What are you doing? Why do you have to carry your horse? There's so many freaking horse trailers around here. People are just carrying their horses from place to place. Buddy, a horse can get there on its own. You don't got to trailer it. Just get on it and ride. And they're like, well, it takes too long? Well, guess what? Wherever you're going with that horse then, you're going to lose. Okay? You don't have to go to a rodeo to find out your horse is slow. Just get on it and ride it. Jesus. This one loves to compete, though. This one loves to compete. It's a horse, bud. It will do what you tell it to. Anyways. Sorry. Traffic. What I couldn't understand, and I don't mean to be obtuse, but if you're going to have a product that's shaped tadpole-y, that's clearly basically a semen or a sperms, if you're going to have that, what do you name that product, guys? It's obvious. It's right there. I'll tell you this, they didn't name it that. They named it something like Splat, which is almost grosser, because the obvious thing of a novelty product that is shaped like a semen that's filled with liquor is, you got to name it cum shot, right? That's a cum shot, guys. It's right there. Why are you naming it Splat? You got to name it cum shot. It's a milky vodka, guys. Vanilla flavored vodka, make it like give it that milky, whatever you do to make something look milky, and that's what it is. And I know it's gross, but it's also gross just to have a semen shaped thing called Splat, okay? That's gross too. And I didn't design it. All I did was look at it and say, ugh. And then I read the name of it and said, ugh, how did you not name it cum shot? So, if I ever get into Novelty Booze, I will correct that mistake. So, anyways, I'm going to bounce out of here, and then I'm going to drink me about 9 cum shots, and I'll be right back with you after I get done weed eating for the next 7 hours. So, we'll see how I feel after that. I can't wait to tell you how my day goes. And if you know a Dago, shake their hand, guys. They're good people. And I'll be right back right after this message from Anne Frank Hot Dogs. Okay. I think at this point we can all agree that what the German army did to the people was very bad. It was a catastrophe, you could say, when they did that to the Jewish people. It was horrible. I think at this point we can all understand that it actually happened. Hold on. I'm getting a phone call. Anne Frank Hot Dogs was the only thing that came out of it. That's my son. Hold on a second. Hello? Hello?
Hi, Daddy.
Son? What's up, buddy?
Nothing.
How was your day?
Fine. Just waiting for you to get home.
I'll be waiting till Sunday.
Well, I mean, wait till when I can see you.
Oh. Yeah, you'll see me. Hopefully you see me Friday. Friday you'll see me. Maybe. I don't know what time I'll get done on Friday. I guess you could make sure that you see me by, if you said you're gonna drive by Case when I was weed eating, then you could see me weed eating. I'll be the guy holding the weed eater, if you're wondering. I'll be the only one doing it, so it should be easy to find me. What are you doing right now?
Nothing. Playing Xbox.
Playing Xbox?
Yeah. I got Forza 4 again. I thought it'd be like 3 gigabytes. Forza 5.
Yeah, you're cutting out. Hold on a second. Go on.
It was only like 64, and then I got it and still have $6 million.
Oh, good.
And a whole bunch of cars.
Yeah. Well, did you have to do any homework today? Did you work on your stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, you need to stay on top of that. If you have problems, you gotta work on it so you don't fall behind. I'm sure it's something simple that you just need help figuring out. So, it's okay. Let us help you figure it out. I'd rather you know what you're doing than feel like it you don't know. So.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I'm headed to Grandpa's. I just been weed eating all day. I'll see you Friday, but you can call me in the morning.
I will.
What'd you have for dinner?
Soup.
Oh, leftovers?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It was fine. I had leftovers. I had to save it for after Awanas.
Oh, I forgot about Awanas. Yeah.
Next week, I'm glad there's no Awana.
Yeah, but at least your friend's there, right?
Dax was there today, finally.
Yeah. So, that's a good thing. Well, I didn't find anything. I found a set of keys when I was weed eating. I don't know whose they are, since somebody lost their keys. But...
They must be mad.
Huh?
They must be mad.
Yeah, I don't know how long they've been there. I only weed eat this ditch once a year, so every once in I usually find something in it. So right now, I just have keys.
Was it that one where you also got the card or the gambling thing?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So, anyways,
Sorry. Mommy's playing.
I know it's hard to hear. So, it's fine. Have fun playing Forza. Call me in the morning.
Okay.
Alright. Love you, buddy.
Love you.
Bye. You don't have to eat soup. You can have an Anne Frank hot dog. This kosher, delicious meal is perfect for dining alone or with a family. Anne Frank hot dogs. Don't let history repeat itself. Unless your history is having a delicious meal, then repeat it daily. And now, back to the show. Sorry about that. Or am I? Or maybe it was all orchestrated, guys. Maybe this whole show's scripted. And I write everything down, and then I get in my truck and I say it to you, and I plan it all out. Huh? Do you think that maybe I'm that good? That diabolical? Well, I'm not. So I haven't really been following anything recently. I'd like to say that I've been watching. I watched a documentary last night that I think is pretty new. It was on either Hulu or Peacock, and it was called like Sex in the College Cult or something. So what had happened is there was this girl that went to a liberal arts college in New York or something, New York State, called Sarah Lawrence, or it sounds like a snack cake or something, like Little Debbie. It's like Sarah Lawrence or Sarah Lee or something like that. So anyways, she went to school up there, moved into her dorm with a couple new roommates that she hadn't met before, and started talking to her roommates about her dad and her mom, and how her mom was crazy and her dad was in jail because of a custody thing because they got divorced and she wanted to stay with her dad. So basically it was one of those deals where, you know, they caught up with them and the U.S. Marshals took him to jail because he had kidnapped his own daughter, but she loved him and all that stuff. He's a great guy, but he's in jail, very powerful, knew a lot of connected people. The New York City head of chief was like his best friend, and he was the best man at that wedding. And so what happened is this dude gets out of jail, and the daughter that's at school at Sarah Lawrence was like, yeah, he's going to come crash with us at our dorm for a while. And the other students were like, that's fine, you know, whatever, that's kind of weird. But so he did. He went and crashed with them at their dorm, and then he started being like the cool dad, and then everybody kind of started liking him. And I guess what he was doing was manipulating these young students into basically becoming followers of his message and his, you know, he called it like inspirations or something, or quest for potential. He had some sort of catchy phrase that he was trying to, a mantra that he would hypnotize these people with. And he's there for a while. I mean, he's there for like a while. And he starts like, it's really creepy because I guess he ends up really shining to this hot chick from San Antonio that moved all the way there. And then he would like manipulate, basically make them sever ties with their former life, you know, convince them that the reason they feel this way is because their family did this to them, and so you don't want to go back to your family. And then he would tell the family, like, she's not coming back because of what you guys did. And they're like, who the hell is this 50-year-old man telling me that my daughter doesn't... What are you talking about, dude? And then that was it. And so it gets crazy because ultimately he's sleeping with this chick. They don't really go into how much of the sexual side of it is. They just say that he's sleeping in the same bed as his college-age daughter and this new college-age girl, and they start basically having a romantic relationship. And I don't know what the daughter's involvement is. It gets pretty taboo, and they don't really get into the details. And it seems like there might be more than just by the way everybody's talking about how horrific the things that were happening were. And then moves into a friend of his had like an apartment, but it was an Asian guy. And when Asians do business, they're on the road a lot. That's just part of the deal. And so this Asian man that was doing business, he had a New York City apartment, and he's like, yeah, sure, you can stay there, dude, for a crash a couple nights. Well, this guy just moves in and brings all these college students to live with him. And there's like 7 people living in this Asian guy's apartment, and the Asian guy comes home from business, knock, knock, opens the door, says, uh-oh, what's going on in here? And they're like, who are you? And he's like, I own this place. Who are you? And they're like, we're friends with Ray. And so he's like, Ray, you got to get out of here. And Ray said, I don't think so. So it ends up being like this guy squats on this Asian apartment. It took 3 years for this Asian guy to be able to get the eviction papers drawn up, to even get this guy out. And then another 3 years before they were actually able to force him out. So this guy lived for 6 years in this, New York City high-rise building in an apartment completely free. But none of the people in his cult, which are like these 6 or 7 college students, knew that arrangement. And so he had these college kids like help him remodel the whole apartment. And, he started like farming out them to try to bring other people into the cult, friends or family. And so he got this one guy's brought his sister that was from San Francisco all the way to New York. They fell in love, but then they got there, and there's just videos of how crazy that these people were. Like, they just went crazy. So it's pretty nuts. And then he got one chick because he needed money. He convinced all these people that they owed him money for living there. And so they started hitting up their families, getting thousands of dollars, people draining their bank accounts because they owed him a debt that they were staying with him. So he took all their money. Then there was one chick, he said, well, you owe me like $300,000. And she was like, oh, probably more like $500,000 for all you've done for me. He's like, yeah, that sounds better. And so she starts being a high-end prostitute. And I'm thinking in my head, I don't know, because I think that maybe when I watch this stuff, I just like imagine, can I do that to somebody? Or could I let that happen to me? Could I be manipulated in such a way? I think that most people have some sort of susceptibility inside them, whether they're willing to admit it or not. You could be like, I'd never let that. But dude, there was a time I frosted my tips. So I'm not that, I'm clearly, I've got caught up in a fashion trend at some point in my life, which is just a mind control thing. I wasn't being myself. Or maybe that was myself, dude. Maybe that was myself, and I'm not being true. I don't know. What I'm saying is, maybe this guy could trick me into it. Maybe he would. I don't know. Maybe not Ray, but somebody else. My wife tricked me into it. Look at that. Marriage is kind of like that. Just a cult. So, but I watch it, and she's like, oh, yeah, so he had me being a prostitute. And in my head, I was like, man, I don't know. They didn't really show... They showed a few photos, but then they had like reenactments, so you don't get a great look at this lady. And not that it matters, but it kind of does. If you're selling your body and yourself for sex, you kind of want to have an idea of, so what's this lady look like? And he saw it, I was like, oh, all right, I don't know how much this lady could make. But the gig was basically at websites and like used, the backside of Craigslist or something. They ended up getting a clientele list put together for this chick, and she was messing around with these guys in hotel rooms. And I'm thinking, like, man, she's probably making, $1,000 a week or something. That's pretty good. And she's giving it all to this guy. Well, apparently she was seeing like 5 guys a day. She was making sometimes $100,000 a week. And in the course of 6 months or a year, however long she was prostituting before she was kind of the ultimate whistleblower to this whole thing. She had made like $2 million in cash by having sex. She was having sex upwards 5 times a day sometimes. And then giving him the money. So giving this guy $2 million. And that's shocking. A lot of this stuff is shocking. But the most shocking part of it was like, how could anybody ever have sex 5 times a day? You know? Not to say that she wanted to, because I doubt that she probably wanted any of them. You know, if I'm going to be, she probably didn't want any of them, guys. But maybe she did. Maybe every once in a while you wake up and even though maybe you do want some, like it's kind of a cool job. Maybe you try to get a different mindset about it one day. Still, how many times could you have still won 5 times? And then I thought that could never be my wife. That could never be my wife. If it was like a yearly deal, 5 times a year, sure. I could see that happening. But 5 times, because I don't think my wife particularly enjoys my company in that way now. And that's what I'm saying. So it's almost like it's the same thing mentally for her, but at the same time, who is all over? My sister, my brother, Anthony's walking in. Sorry, I'm pulling up to my dad's place. I don't know. 5 times a day seems, I couldn't do it 5 times a day. Maybe once in the morning and once in the evening. And that's if I've eaten good and had good rest, and there's a lot of factors that go into that. At most, 3. That's if you pump me full of a lot of that vitamin blue, dude. If I get a bunch of vitamin blues in me, yeah, maybe 3 times. 5. And every day. That's incredible. So it's a pretty good documentary, guys. I wouldn't say it's uplifting in any way, but it's intriguing. It's not the best doc I've ever seen on cults. There's a lot of it where it's like, maybe all these other people are just back. He really is taking care of these people, teaching them something, and they're just dumb college kids that went to a Little Debbie school. I don't know. You'll have to watch it. It's like Sex in the College Cult or Sex in the College Cult Dorm or something like that. You'll find it. The guy's name's Ray. Kind of looks like Michael Chiklis. So enjoy that. Or the brother from Breaking Bad, the brother-in-law. Looks a little bit like that. Not in the pictures they use, but in the video they have. So stick around for that. All right. I don't know. Maybe I'll be back tomorrow. I got to do a bunch of weed eating, but I brought the board so I could drive around in Gold Thunder and talk to you guys. So, yeah, we'll see you, and we'll for sure be back on Friday with those guys from Wichita. So, full show there. Skin Man's gone. He's in Vegas, so we might have to get an update from the strip. But other than that, yeah, don't let your meatloaf and have an okay day.